I'm Eric Russell. I am out and about with Richmond Triangle Players production for their 21st season of The Importance of Being Earnest. This production is done in cooperation with Henley Street Theater and Richmond Shakespeare.
Yes.
So I am most excited that this is kicking off Richmond Triangle Players' 21st season. So can I say how wickedly fun you all are?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are fantastic. So, but I want people to know who you are, who you play in the show, how you're involved with the show. So I'm going to start right here and then go across.
I am Jan Powell. I'm the artistic director of Richmond Shakespeare Henley Street Theater and the director of the production.
I'm Stephen Ryan and I play Merriman the butler.
I'm Allie Weplow and I play Cecily.
I'm Robert Throckmorton and I play Lady Bracknell.
I'm Thomas Cunningham and I play Jack Worthing.
I'm Audra Honaker, I play Gwendolyn Fairfax. I'm Jennifer Frank and I play Lane and Miss Prism.
And I'm Ian Stearns and I play Algernon Moncrief.
This is phenomenal, because when you think Oscar Wilde, in my head pops, Portrait of a Young Man. You know, everyone's got one in the attic, and it ages slowly. But this, I sometimes forget he did plays. And so this was absolutely fantastic, because some of these lines remind me of things my own grandmother would say in our family, like, to my own mother, "You look so handsome with that makeup on," or, "Hannah, that's a lovely stink you have on today." So I really, really love this. It's like Christmas. But for people who don't know the background of the story, this first was performed February 14th, 1895 at the St. James Theatre in London. And at the time, Oscar Wilde was dating the Marquis of Queensberry's son.
Yes.
And this is kind of the play that got him ousted from Great Britain to exile in Paris. Is that correct?
Roughly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he found the love of his life, which was Bosie Douglas, the son of the Marquess of Queensberry. Yes. And Bosie's father was persecuting them. And so Oscar Wilde, urged by Bosie, took the father to court to sue him for libel and failed. And in the course of it, Oscar Wilde had the tables turned on him. And he was tried and imprisoned for indecent behavior, and afterwards was basically shunned and went to Paris. And it's a sad story for a man who wrote such hilariously happy plays like this one.
And this was a satire of the Victorian era. He wrote this as, because Victorians were very prim and proper, they had this very uptight, everything has a form and a function, and there's a way, very ritualistic. And you had to follow the class system and the struggle, and this whole thing is just double entendre and double entendre. It just had me laughing and doing, because you've got such like Burberry, and the word about Earnest, because at the time period when someone was called, "Oh, he's musical," would be the same code as they would use in the South. That's his roommate or special friend. So I kind of caught this subtext, and I knew different people have refuted it, but I just thought, there's so much there, because these are the bachelors. Even my own grandma Russell referred to, the confirmed bachelors and maiden ladies that would go to P-Town. I was wondering how my grandmother knew about P-Town. But okay, very worldly woman. But, what is y'all's take on this whole story? Your characters, like Cecily, if your character was today, she'd be a big Twitter, Facebook diva, like, "I'm taking a selfie out of my thing because I just got engaged to somebody and it's Facebook official." So, that's my take on her. Give us some more about it.
I hadn't thought about that, but
Thank you.
I like it.
You can keep that music.
I appreciate that. For me, it's been really fun to interact with, friends that I've had for a long time in a new way that just tickles me. I've always wanted to stab some cake in Audra's direction. Here we are!
That's how you know they're best friends. Stab cake. They call each other sister now. When you guys are coming with your characters, like for Audra and for Ian, what did you draw on? Because these are very, era-specific characters, but we see them in modern society. We know these people. Because she has this mission. She's like, "I'm getting to the bottom of this. I am going to get my way." She's like the Kim Kardashian of that time period, maybe. "I'm going to marry this man."
Well, for the most part, all of my character motivation is Oscar Wilde. Algernon exists as the most indulgent and hedonistic person on the face of the earth, and is Oscar Wilde's representation of himself in this play. So, for me, it was just figuring out when to eat cucumber sandwiches and talk at the same time, and when I had an opportunity to lounge. That was and then the rest was kind of written there.
Because your timing for all of you is magnificent. When your two characters are sharing tea at Algy's apartment, and he's like very Victorian, and we sit on command and down. But then it brings me to who I've now rechristened Lady Throckmorton. Because, you know, it's not a Richmond show without Throck and a frock. So, this is like one of the most sought after people to play in theater, Lady Bracknell, because she's got fantastic lines. What is your favorite Lady Bracknell moment?
Oh gosh, it's kind of hard to pick. I mean, the scene with Jack. I think any scene that's got the most amount of outrage and being faced with things that are outside of expectations. So that generally that whole scene is fun to play. I have a personal substitution when he says handbag. Where we found a handbag, the personal substitution is in a dumpster behind a strip mall. It's like the strip mall is immaterial. So with the character so tied to rules, whenever she's faced with something that is breaking the rules, that's the most fun.
Because she's the epitome of a social climber.
Yes,
she is the Victorian social climber.
And built that in that she didn't come by it naturally, didn't have money, but made sure she got a man with money. So.
And then she makes sure these help that whole thing, because I love this line. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. I mean, I love it. And I was also thinking, I could go with today's education system, maybe. What did you find, Lady Bracknell? What's she a combination of?
Well, you know, top to bottom, big things, small things. I mean, I think initially, Jan and I, when we were talking about it, I thought she was the surrogate for England, the surrogate for Queen Victoria, and then in the face of everything changing so much, and you know, and then on the complete other end of the spectrum, just being a fan of a lot of British actresses and many of whom have played the part, that's kind of built into your sense memory. So there's a lot that goes into it, but most importantly, it was to preserve things as they're slipping away, and being the one that is charged with holding it together.
Now, it's not a true show about anything British without them. You two are phenomenal. And you're my favorite.
She's my favorite.
Love them all equally. Now, your moments in the garden, and just, you have this great moment like, oh God, these people, and they want tea. These moments are just priceless. It's like you've been in servitude forever going, oh God, here we are again.
I read my inner monologues.
Yeah, pretty much. So talk about developing both of y'all's characters as the butlers or servants for these people. What's your take on Algernon and Earnest and these people? Because you get to see what goes on behind all of their who are they and who do they think they are.
Yeah. Well, Lane, the city manservant to Algernon, is very much a enabler and helper, and has it pretty good himself. And we talked about, there's a cartoon called Archer,
Okay.
and they have a butler and kind of a playboy relationship, and I think they have more fun than they should.
We don't wake up until 1 in the afternoon.
Well, I get up at 10 and he gets up at 1, so get ready.
as for Merriman, in my conversations with Jan, it's clearly obvious that Merriman is not only responsible for instructing the rest of the staff, but is also personally saddled with their constant frivolous requests. So there's the matter of the long-term work that has to get done, and then there's the work that keeps interrupting that work. And so developing the characters with Jan, it's kind of like a two-step process. First is the inherent, obvious, raw frustration, and then on top of that is the veneer to mask it enough to avoid being fired.
I just love it, because just you walk out going,
This is good stuff.
all of you have amazing reactions, because it's the stuff that builds on who you are and the whole thing around you, else it's just people on stage. And you folks have amazing chemistry, and you grasp this whole Oscar Wilde feel. What do you want an audience to take away from this production when they come to see it? And they're going to come see it multiple times. Hint. What do you want them to take away? Anyone?
Well, I want them to laugh a lot because they see themselves up on the stage. So even though this play is 100 years old, people haven't changed very much in 100 years. They've changed much less than you anticipate. So I would love it for the audience to come and recognize their grandmother in Lady Bracknell, and even recognize themselves in Jack or Algy, and watch the comedy of manners unfold, and just have a great time seeing themselves.
And to discover how fresh even a play 100 years old, more than 100 years old, can be, how completely modern the humor is.
Because you can see this happening at anyone's house on some given weekend. I was there going, you're who? You know, I mean, how often have you traveled and you give somebody else your false name because you're on a cruise ship and no one knows? Okay, guess it's my mother. All right.
Well, I think that Oscar Wilde perfectly captured the pain of our innate urges when they come up against social niceties, you know, and it's also deftly and delicately done. And I think the cast has captured wonderfully the lightness and the rapidity with which this dialogue needs to be spoken, and yet there's so much meaning underneath.
Yeah.
So there's a great deal of work that went into the production.
And how funny serious people are. What's the
Yes.
subtitle?
It's a trivial comedy for
serious
serious people.
Because there is a one about that too, about serious people who don't go to dinner.
People who don't take meals seriously.
Oh, it's a genre.
And Lord knows, I do not miss any meals. But yet, that whole they take themselves too seriously. And they just make themselves miserable. Well, this whole group's just having a good old time, just playing at being other people.
But I think also the palette of personalities in the play is very identifiable, because even if set in Victorian England, it still could look like our own hot mess Thanksgiving every year.
Exactly.
Because this might be distancing because of its setting, but it's certainly not unfamiliar to us.
Because we all know someone like Algy or Jack.
Or have a matriarch such as
Right.
Lady Bracknell, whatever social, economic status we or they might be.
That's what makes it such a fantastic show. If people want to find out more about this production, they want to get tickets, subscribe to Henley Street and Richmond Shakespeare, how did they do that?
They can go online to henleystreetshakespeare.org.
Henley Street Theater.
Sorry, it's Henley Street Shakespeare Theater, Richmond. henleystreettheater.org or Richmond Triangle Players.
Ourtriangle.org.
Our Triangle, I'm the wrong person to ask.
So,
The names of the theaters, and you can buy tickets right there.
thank you all for being here. This has been absolutely fantastic, wickedly fun. You will come see the show again and again and again. Tickets are available at ourtriangle.org. It is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. You never know what I'll turn up next, so tune in next time. See ya.